Good morning, I'm Chef Bob Unks, and I'm here at the Plus J Ranch, and I'm here with my very dear friend, Chef Gason Nelson from New Orleans, and we're gonna have a chef chat and learn more about him and talk a lot about cooking, passion, and all the things that make him what he is. Chef, welcome to the Plus J.
Thank you, man. Glad to be here, man. This is cool, definitely cool, man. I mean, I thank you for the way you guys been treating me, and I'm totally impressed already, man. I came out here just do an interview with you and a cook, and I'm getting ready to buy a horse. But I love it, man. I love it.
Perfect.
Right.
Well, we have a lot of horses you can buy, for sure. I'm be happy to sell you one of my naughty horses, Elvis. I want to sell about every other hour. So we definitely talk about selling horses. But let's talk a little bit about cooking. You know, I've been a fan of yours for a long time. Followed your career. I know we have mutual partners, which is really awesome. But tell me about your culinary journey. Like, I'm super excited to learn about your culinary journey. Where did it start? What were your motivations? Who were your inspirations? Tell me where it started.
Well, it's funny. All I've ever done was cook, and it's funny. I believe that God has a path for everybody. And when I was young, I didn't know it was supposed to be cooking, but I always knew. I think when I was like 11 or 12, I always knew I liked cooking because I would watch Julia Childs, and they have somebody called the Frugal Gourmet. I would watch him, and I was just so fascinated about it, but I didn't think nothing about it. You know what I mean? But then as time went on, you know, I was in high school and I needed a job, and I started working at Burger King, and you know, and to everybody else it was a job, and which was fine. It was a job to me. I was a kid, you know. But it was so fascinating to me on like how you can put the meat in on the broiler on this side, it would come out, or like when you drop the fries, how long it would take to come out and how they get golden brown and how long it takes the fries to wilt and then just that. And it was just, and I'm like, and even I thought something was wrong with me because I'm like, why do I care about this stuff, man? Mm-hmm. And it was just, but I didn't know about purpose and passion, all that at the time. And even like just things like me watching my dad in the kitchen cook on the weekend. My dad was in the Army. And then on the weekends, you know, he would cook. And then when he cooked, it was a big, you had to get out of his way. He had to go to the market, get the best product. It was like a big, and he had to, if they're supposed to braise or be in the oven or marinate or roast, you couldn't bother him. He'd put his music on. He would get in the zone. And man, it was something serious. The whole process of it and all that fascinated me. And I was just like, wow. But I always thought, I'm like, why do I even care about this? Because back then, you got to figure, man, this was the 80s, man. You didn't see a lot of men cooking there. They wasn't really on TV and like it is now. Now we're rock stars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But back then it was just like you didn't really see it a lot. Even I was like, I remember one time, like I played football in high school, and I remember one time in the middle of a football game, they had some kind of like chili cook-off or something. There's something going on with the faculty or whatever, and they had a chili, and over the intercom, the speaker, you could hear the guy saying, and such and such, and it was a chili cooker. And I'm on the sideline of a football game thinking, man, if I was in that, and this is in the middle of a football game now, and I'm sitting there like, man, if I was in that, I would be doing this with the chili, and I would take the chili and put this, and it was just so weird to me, man, you know what I mean? But, you know, my dad got orders to go to Alaska, man, and he was like, son, I was like 17, 18, like, son, I can't leave you. I was going to graduate. I didn't know what I was going to do. He's like, I can't leave you here in Fort Polk. You got to do something. You got to go to college. You got to join the Army. You got to go something. So I went down to MEP station, took the test, passed the test to get in the Army, and I needed a job. And cook came up. You know what I mean? And then there was a limited on cook, so they gave me a $5,000 signing bonus to be a cook. So $5,000, I'm like, I'm rich now. I can retire. $5,000. I was 18 years old. $5,000 to cook. I was like, man. So I went in there, man. But that's what I'm trying to say is like, that's how God works, because as soon, I think I was 19 at the time, after basic training I was 19, as soon as I hit the mess hall, I mean the very first day I was in there, something just hit me. I remember, I'm getting goosebumps because I remember like it was yesterday. I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Because I never done it, but I knew that's where I was supposed to be.
That's awesome.
And then I went from there, and I was just always so passionate about it, so serious about it, and I always want to know. But the thing about me is I always want to know why.
Yeah.
You know, why, you know, why if you take this and you marinate this, why does it make the meat tender and gives us so much flavor? You know, not only it breaks down the enzymes and the muscle, and all. There's so much, science that goes into it. You know, and I always want to know. And where other people just cooking to get it out, da 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 da. And I always be like wondering like, why? And I mean, it's crazy stuff. But don't think I'm crazy, Bob. I would even be like, why is this skillet that's beat up, that looks ugly, cook the meat better than this skillet that looks as brand new?
Yeah.
You know, this one's seasoned and that.
And that's why.
Right, you know what I mean? And those are the type of things I wanted to know. And even people would always tell me when I was like 19, 22 years, they were like, I would always have people in the mess hall come tell me like, bro, you're different, man. You're different, and I felt like, there's always that one kid that you go watch at a sporting event. There's that one kid that's always doing
always got special.
That always that special, and that's how I felt, you know what I mean? And the thing is, the funny thing about me is I wanted to do it. To other people, it was a job. I couldn't wait to go to the mess hall and cook. I would get excited to look and see, okay, we got 300 people. And I'm like, here I am, man. And I would go home at night saying, I fed 300 people. And it was like an accomplishment. Everybody else was like, man, if you don't shut up.
Don't let them kill your passion.
And that's how it went. And then, when I got out the Army, man, I went back to New Orleans, and then I got a cooking scholarship for James Beard Cooking Scholarship to go to culinary school. And then after that, man, it just skyrocket, man. It just went from there, man. And like I said, I just think too, is I found my purpose. I didn't know what purpose all that was at that time. So if somebody would have told me, okay, this is your purpose, what you're supposed to be doing, I probably wouldn't understand it back then. But now I know that cooking is my purpose, because when I walked in that mess hall, I felt like I was home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's how it all started.
Well, you hit a lot of the key words that are important to me. Passion, purpose, and God's plan.
Right.
We love to think that we're in control of our things.
No.
But we are not.
Right.
And I think I think it's a blessing that you found that purpose, you found that path early in your life. That's awesome. Right. I found mine later in life.
Oh, did you?
I find, my passions have, I've had many passions, and creativity and culinary has always been one of them. I grew up at my mother's feet.
Okay.
That's how I learned how to cook.
Oh, nice.
And my mother was my first inspiration in cooking, and my grandmother. And, that's how I learned how to cook, and that's how I learned that you put heart into every dish.
I like how you said that. Yeah.
And you do. You put a little bit of yourself. The main ingredient in every dish that I think is the little bit of yourself that you put in there. And so you and I made many dishes together. Right? Yeah, we made this amazing chili out in Morgan State.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, you not tell people about that.
And it was so, like, you would look at the ingredients on that and you say basic, right? But the ingredients in that chili that made it incredibly special, I believe, was the little bit of you and the little bit of me.
Right.
And that made that chili unique to any other chili. And I think it was that good because it had both of us. If either of us had made it, it would have been great. But the fact that we both made it, and the Marry Me chicken that we made, we had a lot of proposals that night.
Man, and I learned so much from you, man. I'm telling you, right after that, you blessed me with that smoke, that gun smoker. I went and I had a dinner. I forgot who the dinner was from, and you had me in there, cold smoking ice cream.
Just like that.
They were blown away. And then we had like a fun argument at the table, because they tell me I put liquid smoke in it. I'm like, no, we don't do that. I smoked this, man. They're like, there's no way, bro. You can. And we having a friendly argument. I had to pull out the gun that you brought me and show them, and they were blown. They said, that did this.
So I think that those are the things that make you special, that I like to believe make me special, is that I love the science behind it too. I love the science. I love thinking of unique ways that you can take common things and turn them into something completely different. And differentiate yourself, but at the same time, the main ingredient that you're putting in it is you. And it's your heart. And it's your passion. It's the fact that we both look at a dish and go, need to move this just a little bit. And now it's right. And now it goes out.
Right.
And that's the difference, right? is the heart and the passion. I have said for many, many, many years that, you know, in what I do, I haven't worked a day in my life. Because I do what I love. I love what I do. And to me, that's not work. There's still stress. There's still anxiety. There's still concern. There's still worry. There's still yelling. There's still screaming. There's still hugging. And there's still kissing. And there's still crying. But at the end of the day, work's not one of them. I don't get up and go to work. I get up and go to life.
I like that.
And I know that you do that too. And I love finding people with those same values and those same, you know, principles of this is what we do. And we do it because we love it. The fact that we love it makes it a life. And that's what we do. So I love that story. Thank you so much for that background. And so you come out of the Army, you go to culinary school. Culinary school's a trip, isn't it?
Yes, it is. You know what? Now I find I would never discourage anybody from going to culinary school. For me, going to culinary school, I built a lot of great relationships. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think I got more out of that in culinary school than anything. And it introduced me to it introduced me to things like that. But I got more experience when they threw me in the trenches and threw me on the line, and I didn't know, and then them tickets, you hear that machine, then it gets to going, and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
You know? And you got to get it out. And then it's not for everybody, man.
No.
But you find out what you made out of, man.
Yes, sir.
And you learn a lot during the process, man. And you when I like something you just said, what I like, you figure it out. Mm-hmm. I think me and you was doing we was doing somewhere. Oh, when we was out there in the bayou, mm-hmm. and something, and it was never a problem. Mm-hmm. We figured it out.
Yeah.
Versus, I think we didn't have something, or we was going to use the skillet for something like that, and it was like it didn't look like it could be done, mm-hmm. but it was an answer. There was an mm-hmm. answer, and we figured it out, and mm-hmm. we got it done. So, definitely, man. Cooking, I mean, you have to definitely, you know, challenge yourself. In culinary school, you know, opened up my eyes and showed me a whole big world, but I got majority of my cooking when they threw me in the trenches in the French quarters on the line, mm-hmm. and said, go do it.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I learned in culinary school was I went to culinary school with a very direct purpose. I simply needed to learn what I needed to learn. I knew how to cook. I knew I was a businessman. I was thinking about, at that time in my life, I was thinking about, well, maybe I want to own a bed and breakfast in Vermont, you know, in upstate New York. You know, that'll be my end game. You know, I know how to do most of the things. I know how to cook. I should probably learn how to really cook. And so when I went to culinary arts school, I went with a very direct purpose. And bless his heart, Toby Stryanese at Schenectady College in upstate New York, I went and visited with him, and I said, hey, here's my goal. Here's my thing. This is what I'm trying to do. And they crafted a program for me, just for me. Mm. And they said, we can test you out of a bunch of this other stuff. You don't need to know that. You already know it. We'll test you out. In the meantime, let's get you on an accelerated program and just help you learn what you want to learn. What I learned was the technical pieces that I didn't know, and that was great. We also had a working kitchen like you probably had. And so that working kitchen was a part of what you had to do. You had to get in there and you had to serve people and, you know, hit the line and all of that stuff. All the tickets like you're talking about. You know, those tickets. I still wake up sometimes with ticket. It's like gives you nightmares.
What?
But that's how you learn what you're made of.
Right.
Right? But for me, it's the same as you. It was the relationships.
Right.
I still have amazing relationships with many of those professors and many of those people that I met, you know, at culinary school, and that launched my career almost 30 plus years later. And it was amazing. So I appreciate that. And I think that it's something that you really have to go through. I'm kind of torn like you. Like, you know, I get a lot of kids, you know, they're all kids to me at this point, will reach out to me and say, hey, should I go to culinary arts school or should I just jump into a restaurant? What should I do? There's no real answer.
No, there's not.
No, the answer is, what do you think you should do? And that's why, what's your goal? Why would you go to culinary school? Or why would you not? Why would you jump right into a restaurant? To me, the benefit of culinary, I think the answer is go to culinary school. The reason you go to culinary school is simply so you can gain the foundation of the basics that you need.
Right.
Because if you just walk into a restaurant, you're just walking into a dish pit. Because you don't know anything. And you might think you know something, but you really don't. And you need that foundation of knife skills. You need that foundation of understanding that the only answer is yes, chef. It's the only answer. Can you do this? Yes, chef. Will you do this? Yes, chef. And you don't learn that unless you go to culinary school. Because if you don't learn yes, chef, then you haven't learned anything. And then you go into a restaurant, and then you work your way all the way up. Some of the most amazing chefs that I know started their career that way. Yeah. And they work. I wash dishes. I get this. It's my most famous question I get every single gosh darn time. Is when am I going to be done doing dishes? Chef, have we ever done doing dishes?
Never.
That's the answer.
I got one for you.
Never. We are never done doing dishes.
Never.
Ever.
I was on the line. I'm a line cooking, and I'm thinking I'm doing my thing, and a dishwasher didn't show up one day. I was the last line cook hired. So you know where I was that night?
Dish pit.
I'm like, I'm not a dishwasher. You are today.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
One of my favorite management memories, we were opening up the Raleigh Convention Center in Raleigh, and it was gorgeous. It was brand new. Everything in the building was brand new. They spent millions of dollars. Everything in the building was brand new. And the first event was the inauguration of the new governor for North Carolina. That was the first event. Nobody fired up equipment.
Wow.
That was the first event. 2,000 people for the inauguration of the governor. That's the inaugural event for the entire building. And so you can imagine what went into that. We get to the end of the night. The event was a huge success. We had a huge management team. I led that whole management team. And at the end of the night, we're walking down this corridor, and the dish pit was slammed.
Come on.
It had every dish from 2,000 people in it. What they hadn't accounted for was the dish crew.
Wow.
Now the dish pit, the machine they had, it's the most amazing one I've ever seen. It's like the Cadillac of dishwashing machines. The thing had to be 40 feet long. And it was amazing. They didn't have people to run it. They had people, but they didn't have enough people. So I looked at every single one of the executive management team, and I said, we're not done yet. And I took my jacket off, and I said, let's go help them. And we stayed till 3 o'clock in the morning, and we knocked all those dishes out.
After cooking for the governor.
After cooking for the governor, after 5 14-hour days. Didn't matter. Failure's not an option.
Not at all.
You do what you got to do. And it gave that team the credibility they needed for the rest of that convention. And it was awesome because we did what we had to do. But you're never done doing dishes.
Never. No. Even one thing I learned about what we do, man, is like even like I'll get on top of everything. I'm like, whew, okay, I'm on top. But there's always something to do. When you're done, and you think you're done, and you're gonna do, and your car, there's always something. And when you're off, your mind is like, I gotta go here. Let me order my phone. Some days I be scared to look at my emails. Oh Lord, man, I be scared to look at my emails. You can relate, huh?
I can definitely relate. I have a lot of people that help manage me to try and relate to that.
Right.
Okay, so tell me. So you've done some really, really cool things. You've done some really impressive, cool things. Mm-hmm. Tell me about some of the favorite experiences that you've had as a chef. What are some of your favorite? Not the most sexy, not the famous people. Tell me, like, what events have you done that are the most memorable for you? What have meant the most to you?
I would say probably when I went to Africa, that was I went to Lagos, Nigeria, and I did something called it was like they have like this food show out there, and I went out there and I got to share, Cajun and Creole food, and being from New Orleans, it's just being out there and the way they received me when I went. And then I was just like, it was a little overwhelming because a lot of people was trying to get to me, stuff like that. And the president over it all, he was like, they don't see people like you at the level that you're at. And here I am just living life, and then, okay, I'm Chef Gason, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I get out there and it was like, I had to have security, man. Mm-hmm. It was like, this is like a lot. But like he was even telling me, so because they really was like investing in me and what I did and things like that. Oh, another event is like I did something. They had a Ronald McDonald House just before Katrina. Ronald McDonald House in New Orleans, and I got to go there and cook at the Ronald McDonald House. That was very rewarding. What else? I mean, I've done quite a bit of stuff, man. Oh, I would tell you one thing. This is just personal to me. It was like I worked for Reggie Bush, man, but being involved, after Katrina and all this other stuff, and I'm a big, sports fan. Being able to work with him and watching my city get a Super Bowl, that was, oh my God, that was just like, and I felt in my own little warped type of way, because I was connected to him, that I had a part out. I ain't run not one pass. I ain't catch a ball. I ain't never tackle nobody. But I felt that in my own little way, I helped get my city a Super Bowl. I'm also too is just like showing people that because I really really put a lot into this, and when people come up to me and they can tell that how passionate I am about it, that means a lot. So when people see me, I've been places and people like, man, you walked in the kitchen, man. I'm just looking at how you move, man. Mm-hmm. He's like, I can tell you really. So that means because people really know that I'm serious and I love what I do. Because this is not a job. So just so somebody can just see that, hey, he really puts his all into this, and then you trust me to be in your kitchen to cook for you and your guests, or something else. So I've done a lot of stuff for a lot of famous people, man, that have a lot of power. And that's something that makes me feel really good is like, for a minute in my mind, I'm like, you know what? This person has Heisman's, been Academy Award, just been on TV, A-list celebrity and stuff like that. But we're in this room right now with all these people, and I'm getting ready to put this meal out, and I'm in total charge. That is such a feeling, man, that you wouldn't believe. I'm like, I'm the guy right now. Yeah. And the vibe, the mood, everything that goes off right now in this room is set off by me. Mm-hmm. And that feels good. That's a lot of control, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot of control. Because you put out a bad meal, of course it's gonna be a bad. You're in control, man. So mm-hmm. I like that. I don't want to say power, but it's just to be trusted with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That feels good.
To me, it's a responsibility.
Right.
With great power comes great responsibility. Mm-hmm. And I think if you handle that responsibility respectfully, it not only elevates and showcases your talent, it also creates the tone,
right,
and the experience that our guests have. I'm 1,000% about the experience that we create, and we're responsible for creating that experience. In good circumstances and in bad, we're still responsible for creating that experience.
Right.
And when we own that and we know that, I think that's what makes the difference. And listening to you talk about your favorite experiences, one of my favorites is also serving at a Ronald McDonald House.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right here in Orlando. And it was one of my favorite experiences. We built gingerbread houses. And I went to the Ronald McDonald House. It was Christmas time, and we built gingerbread houses. And
oh, wow.
It was so much fun to work with the kids. And then, I do a lot of private cooking classes, and some of my fondest memories are cooking with kids. I love cooking with kids. I love I love when kids with a passion for cooking, when they're at that age, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, they already have a passion for cooking, and their parents reach out to me and say, hey, I don't want my kid to be a TV star, but he loves cooking. She loves cooking. Can you help give them some foundational skills? Some of my favorite memories.
Nice.
Watching a kid learn how to sear a filet, and watching a kid understand the difference in how to make a homemade Caesar salad dressing versus pulling out of a jar, and why it's different and why it's better, and knowing these kids years and years and years later, and they're still passionate about it, and they cook meals for their kids. So I do a series of cooking with kids that I absolutely love. So I do 3 classes with them. First class is fundamentals. Second class is getting into recipes and entrees. Third class, they cook a meal for their parents. And their parents can invite guests. And if their parents invite guests and their guests have kids, the kids have to come and help.
Oh.
And it's so amazing to watch, and I'm hands off. They cook the whole meal. We have 3 courses, and they cook all 3 courses. They prepare all 3 courses. And then they learn about service, and they learn about front of the house. And they have to stand there at the end of the table and explain the meals to the guests. And they have to say how they made them, what they're made of, if there's any other special things about them. And watching these kids, watching a 10-year-old kid have that conversation that you and I have 100 times
Right.
at the end of a table talking about a meal. Here's your appetizer, here's your entree, here's your dessert. Watching a 10-year-old kid do that and standing in the background, the amount of pride that you feel in that, like, chokes me up every time. And then, watching the parents realize that their kid is different now. They understand what culinary really means, what food really means. And then I teach every single one of them about the special ingredient, which is your heart. You're putting your heart in here. You two kids are both going to make the same thing. Yours is going to be different than yours.
Absolutely.
Because your heart's different than yours.
I like that.
And that's why they're different. Everybody says, what about butter noodles, right? You got butter, you got noodles, right? Butter noodles. One of my favorite dishes in the entire world. I eat butter noodles every day. Every day if I could. I eat butter version of butter noodles. Every damn day I'll eat them. Your butter noodles going to be different than mine.
True.
They are, because of the heart.
Right. It's funny. You made me remember something. I work with this company out of Canada called the Chef in the Dish.
Yes.
And where they Skype me in and I cook food with, Cajun Creole food with people from around the world. Cook with a lot of people. We had just recently, like last month, young girl, 12 years old, went to Disney and had beignets out there. 12. Mm-hmm. Fell in love with she was more excited about the beignets than she was about being in Disney. And every morning she could not wait to get beignets for breakfast. And that's all she talked about. So her uncle hired us at the Chef in the Dish to make beignets with me. She's 12, Bob. So we're in there, and I'm teaching her how to make fresh beignets. And this girl was on my every word, and I could just tell by her movement. I'm like, this little kid is serious, man. I'm like, wow. And she was like, okay. And she was just so eager and excited. And then we got to bed. Man, I'm telling you, she was dancing and jumping up in the kitchen over these beignets. And I think it was more about the excitement of her making, like, she was so in wow with them at Disney, and she actually made it. She was jumping up and down in the kitchen. And I was like, well, I'm not jumping like that. Maybe her beignet is better than mine. I'm like, and we take it for granted. I'm like, the beignets, calm down. And she was going crazy over these beignets, man. And then her mom thanked me. And it was more about, she thanked me so much, she said, because all she talked about was them beignets at Disney. Yeah. And it was a memory that I brought back to her. So and it's something she'll never forget.
You gave her that memorable experience. Right. You know, I'm all about creating memorable experiences. And I love that you gave her that memory. But it really is your memory. Right. Isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's not just hers. And she'll remember that, but you're taking that away, just like I'm remembering many of the many memories that I've had about helping people live their passion. Right. Whatever that is. Speaking of passions, one of your other passions is tennis.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about you and tennis. You know, a lot of folks, you know, you have this as well. You know, everybody sees us on the social media. And we go, these big exciting lives, and blah blah blah. You know, these famous people, but we have lives too. We're people too, right? I play golf. I love to play golf. I play golf because it grounds me. It makes me center. It makes me focus on only one thing and nothing else in my world in order to be successful. It's just like tennis. You're trying to think about a recipe for a dinner you're doing tomorrow night. While you're playing tennis, you're going to get beamed in the head with a ball, right? Right. So you have to focus. And so for that, it's a big passion for you. So tell me a little bit about you and tennis. Well,
tennis is for me, tennis saved my life, number one. You put me in the kitchen, I'm in total control. Mm-hmm. You can't. Right now. I mean, a bus can pull up right now with 1,000 people, and you can give me one piece of chicken. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna make some phone calls. We're gonna get Costco truck. We're gonna figure it out. You know what I mean? That's how confident I am. I'm like, give me the ball. You know, we're gonna figure it out. With tennis, I was going through a difficult time in my life at the time, and then I started to drink a lot. And back then, you didn't know about depression and anxiety and all of that. You didn't know about that stuff, man. And the guy, Coach Charles Perkins, was at the gym, because usually at the gym, I'm the loud one in the gym, and that. He says, I was quiet like for a couple of weeks. I was going through, a divorce and stuff like that, and I was quiet. during the time and him and I never talked. You know, we seen each other in the gym, but I was always one of the loud ones in the gym. We've never talked. But I said, hey, good morning. That was it. Then one day I was about a water cooler, and he's like, and he's older than me, man. His name's Charles Perkins. He goes, how you doing, man? You all right? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine, bye. He invited me out to go play tennis. I'm like, geez, I'm a tennis coach. You should come play at Joe Brown and come play tennis. I'm like, tennis? I'm like, man, what the heck are you talking about? Well, anytime, and I found out where they play tennis at was literally like right around the corner. So I said, one day I said, let me just go drive by there and look. I didn't even own a tennis racket. Let me just go look. And I went out there and I seen the people out there playing. So that's interesting. So he gave me a racket, and then I started playing, and I got hooked. And then I just started thinking about it. But later on, and I'll get back to it, I always asked him, and then we got close because he became my tennis coach. I asked him, I said, what made you invite me to go out there to play tennis with you guys, man? Da-da-da. He goes, man, I would always see you in the gym, and you was always perky and up and da-da-da. He says, you had a lot of pain in your face, man. I didn't even know him from Adam. Never talked to him. He says, I saw pain. And he said, I was just trying to give you an out, you know what I mean? And he said, God put on my heart to talk to you and just give you an out. And I was like, oh, wow. Then I started playing tennis, and then, you know, I got addicted, and then it was like you said, the thing too about tennis for me, it was, you know, and later on I learned about depression and anxiety and all this other stuff. But the thing about tennis with me is I have to put so much into it to go out there to play. Like you said, you got to think, and I really seriously got to think, you know. Right now, if you said, let's go cook that, it would be effortless.
Yes.
Because
doesn't require thinking.
It doesn't.
We're an autopilot.
Oh my God! It could. I wouldn't even have to think.
Wouldn't matter what they threw at us.
Yeah, I would not be.
It
could be an ingredient I never seen before. It's that easy to me. But tennis, I got a hold. So I'm very challenged, and then I went out there and I would like. I remember this one guy named Julius Brown. I'm playing, and I'm very competitive. And we're getting ready to play, and I could barely get the ball over the net. Right before we started playing, he walks off. He goes, this guy can't even get the ball over the net, and he walks off.
Oh, man.
And this thing just hit me in the head. And I'm very, that would never, I don't care. When I leave here, I'm going to get this, man. That would never, ever. And then we became great friends after that. And then one thing, then I started winning tournaments, and I started getting bumped up. Now I'm a 4-0, those different tennis levels. But it was just, tennis saved my life. And like I said, I never had another drink. I never drank again. And all I wanted to do was play tennis. But check this out, Bob. I was playing so much tennis, and I'm reading magazines, and I'm YouTubing stuff, and I'm driving in the car one day, and something hit me like, Gason, I got bad news for you. And I was like, what's that? You're not going to Wimbledon. You're not going to play. I'm sorry, bro. You just need to play tennis at half. Because I was putting my everything into it. Like, you're not. Yes, it's over, bro. You're not. You just need to play and be a good part player and just have fun with it. And that's what I did. Because I put a lot into it. I was training and working out, and I'm playing tennis. And I was like, I'm not going nowhere with this. You know, so I just became a great part player, and I met some great people. I cut some business. I'm pretty sure you can relate to this. I cut some business deals on the tennis court too.
Oh, absolutely.
I've cut some business deals on the tennis court, man. And
yeah.
And that's what's happening. It's just very competitive, and I met people, and I love going to different places. And one thing I'll do is, like, when I go places, I'll go visit tennis courts, and I visit CrossFit, and I do CrossFit a lot too, because the thing for me with CrossFit and tennis is very challenging. And it's very rewarding too. It's like I can go somewhere and I can see people playing tennis, and I'm like, they're way better than me. Just go out there, do what you know to do, hit the ball like you know to hit the ball, and you win sometimes. And it's very rewarding. You know what I mean? So tennis is really, it's like, it's challenging, number one, and it builds my confidence. And I'll even tell myself, like, hey, I know I can do it. I have pep talks to myself, and then when I win, it's just kind of like, I don't want to say boost my ego, but it's kind of like
the validation.
Yeah, validation, exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
So for me, my tennis is golf.
Right.
And I played golf I didn't start playing golf until I was 30.
Oh, wow. So you got late into the late like me.
I got to it late, and my favorite stories so this is how coachable I am. The first day I ever played golf, I'm playing with a friend who said, no, I'm going to teach you how to play golf. You need to play golf. I was a successful real estate agent at the time, and he's like, no, you need to know how to play golf. Okay. So we go out in the golf course. I'm playing with his clubs. And I hit a ball off the tee, and it goes under this tree. Okay. Go up under the tree, and I'm like, well, there's limbs, and there's distractions. This was a great life lesson. There's distractions everywhere. There's a pond over here. There's tree limbs above me. There's, the greens over here, ducks, crap distracting me. And he said, Bob, the key to golf is to eliminate the distractions. You focus on the shot, you focus on your swing, and you just swing. Okay. So I had an 8-iron in my hand. I just swung. Right above me was the limb. So when I swung, I snapped the head right off that club because I wasn't thinking about the limb. And broke his club right in half.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. The head went flying, But but my takeaway was I hit a beautiful shot. So in order to succeed, my lesson that day was eliminate the distractions, right? And yes, I bought him a new 8-iron. Actually saved the head and had it all fixed for him. But it was a good key lesson. And for me, I'm also highly competitive. Mm-hmm. And if I'm going to do something, I want to do it the best I absolutely can.
Right.
For me, cooking is relatively effortless too, and what I like about my particular cooking style is I don't get caught up in the minutia. I don't. If the recipe says this, okay, the recipe's a guideline to me. Okay, right. That sounds great. I'm gonna probably do this. That's kind of how I approach cooking, and for me, and Krista, my wife, says this all the time. Bobby, have you ever made a bad dish? I've never made a bad dish. I've made dishes that I wish I'd made better, but I've never made a bad dish. And they're just different. There's ways to do it better. So I don't stress too much about that. I stress more about the process and the distractions than the actual cooking. So one of the things that I learned, and I feel like you've learned this, but you might not have realized it yet, is I used to play competitive golf a lot. And golf is very competitive. I mean, it's you against that person, and this is where we are. And like tennis, yours is faster paced because it's boom, 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 and someone wins or loses. Mm-hmm. Golf isn't quite like that. Golf is very mental. And I will change my strategy in golf based on the other person's performance. I can get in their head. I can help change the way the match goes. And one of the things that I learned, and I don't like losing any more than you like the losing, but one of the things I learned years ago, and I'm so blessed that I learned it, is, and I don't remember where I got this. I got this through one of my self-help things, do a lot of self-help things, and mental toughness and stuff like that, was that I lost that match because someone else needed to win in their life. In their life, they needed that win. Bobby didn't need that win. Bobby's fine. Yeah, Bobby wants to win. But they needed that win for whatever reason that was. And I'll never forget, I was playing in a golf match, and this person needed a win. And I didn't let them win. But they needed the win. And when they got the win, it really sunk into me that they needed that in their life. And I automatically realized I hadn't lost. They just needed that win. Okay. But I didn't lose. I still won because I had the joy of knowing that they really needed that. And from that moment on, every single competitive thing that I've done, if I've not ended up getting the medal or getting the jacket or getting the win, I was okay with it. Because for whatever reason, God decided they needed that win more than I did. And so that's how I channeled back my competitiveness a lot. And I was super happy and blessed that I did that because it gave me a lot of peace.
I like how you put that. Yeah,
it's not that you lost, it's that they needed that win. And at the end of the day, I think you believe it as much as I do, that, there's a plan. God's got a plan. The universe has got a plan. When you miss that red light and you get fussy about it and blah, 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 there's a reason you missed that red light. There's a reason that you're later than you think you should be. There's a reason that you're earlier than you should be. There's a reason that flight got delayed. There's a reason for everything. And focus more on that piece than the piece that your flight's going to get in 2 hours later, or that you got cut off, or whatever it might be. And it's given me a lot of peace, and I feel like you have that same mentality
Oh, definitely.
in that.
Oh,
Everything for a reason, and all for our greatest good.
I agree. I definitely, I've done events, man, and where a period of time I was like, before I had an assistant and stuff, and I'm working by myself, and I'm like, man, I'm making this a lot harder, doing this by myself. But then I know that I can do it, and then I go into events and I got all this help, and in my mind I'm like, psh, I knocked out bigger things like this by myself, man.
Yeah.
So I know I could do this with 3 people.
Yeah.
Or I've been in kitchens that were this big, and I'm pretty sure you can relate.
Oh, absolutely.
And you got out this big meal, and now you got this huge kitchen with less people with help. And you're like, I got this, man. You know what I mean? So, and there's a reason, like you said, there's a reason. And I'll sit back and be like, oh, okay, this is easy now. This is easy. And everybody's like rattling around in your mind. You're like on cruise control, like this ain't nothing, man. But there's a reason, like you said. I like how you put that. Yeah.
Chef, you have had an amazing career. You've worked with so many cool and interesting people. If there was one person that you could work with, who would it be?
Oh, wow, man. You know, when, you know, obviously I can work with my dad because that's where I learned, that's where I watched and I realized, hey, being a man, to cook and stuff like that, it's pretty cool. And I got to work with Leah Chase before. She was somebody. But I've always admired, I love his energy. Jamie Oliver.
Oh, yeah.
In the kitchen, in the beginning, that Naked Chef thing and all this stuff. But his energy in the kitchen and how he was just so, I loved his energy, man. I would have loved to work with Jamie Oliver if that was ever possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we can make that happen. Jamie is a great guy.
Have you ever?
I met him one time,
Right.
and we were doing some events at Kentucky Derby, at one of the Kentucky Derbies, and he
Right.
was one of the celebrity chefs there, and I had the opportunity to work with him, and he's just a super sweet guy.
Yeah, I love the way his energy and how excited he gets over dishes and things like that. And when I first started, that was one of the things I caught on. Just like, remember when Emerald came out with the Cooking Live and all that? That's when all this started to take off. Then I started watching Jamie Oliver and just how he was how he moved in the kitchen, and he just like, it seemed like he got more excited about the food than the guests got excited about it, you know. I used to love that.
And that's a lot of your same energy.
Right.
Is that you're so excited about the food itself and the process itself, and that you embrace it so much.
Right.
And that's what the energy that you project, and one of the things that I respect
Thank
so
you
much
so much.
about you. Yeah.
Thank
You mentioned Emerald. When I was in Culinary Arts School way back in the day, we had the opportunity to go to an Emerald shooting in New York.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How was that?
It was amazing. And so we go to Emerald's live show in New York. And, we lived in upstate New York at the time. And so, it was just a bus ride. And they're like, Bob, do you want to go? I'm like, yeah, I want to go. And so I went. And so we were behind the scenes. Emerald asks me to come out on the show, just picks me out random.
No way.
Yeah. And he's like, Chef Bob, come on out here. You want to help me with this? And I was on a show. Like, didn't know I was going to even do this. And I'm like, deer in the headlights. And he was so sweet, though. He was such a great guy. And he spent time with me afterwards. And it was a little 3, 4, 5 minute thing. And then I walked away, and the producer's like, "Yeah, you get off stage." I'm like, "Okay." So I know what I'm doing, and so because I just hung out there all day, and so I go backstage, and then they wrap the show, and he come back, and he was just so sweet, just such a really nice, sweet guy, and it's fun to meet so many of these Food Network stars, and I've been blessed to work with a lot of them. My favorite, if I were to ever had a person that I could ever work with or cook with, it would have been Julia Child.
Joe, really? Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. We were blessed for my 60th birthday to spend a week at Julia Child's house in France.
Get out of here.
I slept
At her
in
house?
her actual house, where they filmed, where they did everything, where her and Paul lived in France. And we went there with 2 dear friends. And I stayed with Kristen in Julia Child's bedroom. I walked out of her bedroom out into her gardens, and I spent an entire week in her house, in her kitchen.
Did you cook in it?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Oh my God, yes. And our dear friends, Greg and Joanna, who'll be super excited that they were mentioned in this, stayed in James Beard's bedroom. It's not called the James Beard bedroom because they just named the rooms after people. That's where he slept. That's where he stayed every time he was there, which was often. Paul Bocuse, Julia Child, James Beard would hang out in this house in the living room that we spent every night in and talk culinary. They changed the direction of culinary.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I would wake up early every morning. I'm in their kitchen. I'm in her kitchen with her pegboard behind me, with her utensils,
But
using her frying pans on her stove.
how did you get in? Is it open to the public, or did you
It
know
is.
somebody? Oh, okay.
It is. It's open to the public. You have to book it years and years in advance,
Gotcha.
and it's a thing. Didn't care. But bless her heart, Kristen, my wife, just said, "We're just doing this for your 60th birthday. We're just doing it." And when you get there, the first time you get there, you arrive in the afternoon. The pain to get to, by the way. It's in the middle of Provence, up in South France, and it's hard to get to. But when you get there, you pull in, and they welcome you to the house. They show you around. You choose the bedrooms you want to be in. I wanted to be in Julia's. They were in James Beard's. And we had the whole house to ourselves for a week. We had a private chef. We had French pastries delivered every morning. We had a sommelier. We had everything.
Wow.
Yeah. And we had a crepe. We had a chef come in and teach us how to make crepes. And so the only room you can't go in the first day you get there is the kitchen. Of course, I want to walk to the kitchen. I'm like, "Where's the kitchen?" And they're like, no, you can't go in there. Well, why can't we go in there? Well, there's a reveal. It's a thing. Okay. Finally, like 5 o'clock, you get to go in the kitchen. And you walk in the kitchen, and you see her kitchen that you see in all the books and on TV and everything. You see it. And I had a minute. And I rubbed my hands on her. I'm gonna probably get all choked up. Standing there. And I had my hands on the butcher block. And they're all talking. And Greg asks me a question. And I couldn't answer.
Wow, that's something.
And I said, "I'm sorry, I just can't." So the night goes on. It was amazing. Every morning I woke up so early, like 6:15. I'd wake up. Kristen's asleep. She's like, "No, you go do you." And I would walk out in that kitchen. And I would just stand there. And I'd rub that butcher block.
Wow.
And I'd play with her tools. And I would make omelets. In her frying pan on that stove. When that stove is temperamental, I am not even lying to you, I swear to God.
Is it really?
Oh my God, yeah, it's this antique giant French stove with all these burnt, it's a thing. But I would go out in the gardens, I would go find the chickens, I would get eggs from the chickens, I'd go pluck figs from the tree, I would go to all the herbs in all the herb gardens, and I would pick all the fresh herbs, and I would go back and make omelets for Kristen and Greg and Joanna. And every morning was like, can't believe I'm here.
That's amazing right there. I
So it was not, I didn't get to cook with her, but I really believe I did get to cook with her.
Oh no, you did cook with her.
I did.
Her spirits
I
was
would
in there.
talk to her. Oh, like 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm in there talking, I'm making omelets. I'm like, "Julie, I don't know what the hell you did with this, but I'm gonna tell you what, man, because this thing is I bet you didn't use this burner, did you? Because I'm gonna tell you what, I'm about to have a minute with this burner." And I go over there, and then I hear a rustle outside, and so the neighbors have dogs. These dogs, they're just like part of the problem. They just come and walk in the front door.
Shut up.
Yeah, into the kitchen door. They just come and they poke their nose on the door, and you open up the door, and the dog comes in, and they're like, like Afghan, like big dogs. And I'm like, "Hey, how you doing? Yeah, come on in. That's fine. Wander around, whatever." I'm like, "Come on, you want to go get eggs with me?" And the dog come follow me, go get eggs, and I pick all those herbs, and
That's something right there, man.
it was I cooked with her.
I believe you did.
I fully believe that. So
I just can't. You think they would make that like a tourist attraction that you couldn't get in there? You would think, huh? But you could. Wow.
I know. So, Chef,
This is awesome. Thank you so much, man.
thank you so much.
Definitely,
Blessed to have you as a friend, and I'm so honored to work with you, and I love everything you're doing in your career. I hope you can maintain the passion and maintain the embrace all of the joy that you bring to all the other folks that you cook with, and I'm blessed and honored to work with you.
Thank you. This is awesome, man. This is good. This is definitely good, man. And I'm excited about working with you, man. Big things coming, man.
Big things coming.
Big things coming.
Thanks for joining us, and Chef Gason and I are going to do some more cooking segments, so you can have that to look forward to. I have a special guest that Chef Gason does not know is coming to visit with us. Super famous tennis player. He's going to be up here at the ranch in a little bit, and you're going to get to meet him, and you guys are going to get to have a conversation.
All right.
All right. Thank you.